What is up guys, Andy Forrestine Runner here, and today we're going to be diving in and comparing the Hoka One One RINCON to the Hoka One One carbonx. So welcome back to another video guys, and today we're going to be diving into the world of Hoka One One. We're going to be comparing the RINCON to the carbonx. For those of you who have watched my videos, you'll know that the RINCON for me was my shoe of 2019. Such an incredible, versatile, agile, speedy shoe that was just able to be used for absolutely everything. Setting PRs in races, training, you name it, we use this shoe. And sadly it's come to an early retirement. We'll go through all that today, but it certainly left me wanting more from the brand, and that is of course how we ended up with the carbonx. So today we're going to be going through these two shoes, comparing them, their pros, their cons, all of that good stuff. If you're excited for today's video guys, you know what to do. Smash that like button, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you are new here, and let's, without further ado, dive in. Okay, so let's go through a very technical but non-technical overview of both of these shoes before we jump into my pros, cons and how they both perform. These shoes both have a 5mm drop, and I've got to say I absolutely love the RINCON, and this is no different. But we'll go through all of that in a minute. Let's go through where these things have their pros, have their cons, have shedded weight well with the materials they've used, and maybe have gained weight where they could save weight, and fingers crossed for some improvements in the second versions of both of these shoes, which are coming out later this year. I'll give you my thoughts on that very shortly. But we'll start off with the RINCON. As always, in the heel area, we'll work down to the midsole, to the outsole, and then we'll do the same on the carbonx. So very quickly going through these, we have a nice cushioned heel area, which has cushioning, I'd say about 1 centimetre deep all the way around, and then the very base material here is thinner, but very firm, very stable to give your heel a good lockdown fit. This is nice around the ankle bone, never had an issue with any rubbing, just the nice perfect level of comfort in the RINCON. Again, a nice thin, I don't know if you can see that, a nice thin tongue there, which is not connected. It's not like a booty fit type of shoe that you saw in the Adidas Ultra Boost or the Nike Zoom Fly 3, just a box standard thin tongue, not racing paper thin, but not Asics, thick padded, mega cushioned type of tongue. And then a very strange accolade to give to a shoe, but in my opinion, the best laces, of 2019 in any shoe that I found. I was able to get this shoe dialed in every time without any issues, and without ever having the laces slipping. It was brilliant, and I think that was a combination of the simple eyelet chain pattern we have down here with the material used, which didn't stretch, didn't allow the material to stretch and make your midfoot start to feel loose at all. It was just perfect lockdown with these laces, and perfect length as well, not these super long laces that you get in some shoes. So all of that was great. Then we have this mesh upper that's being used. I do apologise, my RINCON is indeed rather dirty. Hashtag dirty RINCON. This was used on the trails a little bit as well, so it's had a good outing. Again, as I said, mesh upper, I don't think it is the same, well, I know it's not the same mesh upper as the carbonx. This is a single mesh layer mesh upper. I think this might be dual mesh layer in certain places, or there's another material used underneath some areas of the upper, but it's still very thin, very lightweight. You can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I can still see through a lot of the pattern here through into the shoe. So it is still very lightweight and just an absolutely brilliant upper. Moving on to the midsole, this is where the RINCON excelled and where the RINCON sadly failed in epic proportions. It was so great. The midsole, the EVA foam midsole, was just brilliant. It was just the perfect level of cushion, responsiveness, supportiveness, everything. It gave me everything I wanted, but it wore out just shy of 200 miles. It's completely lost its pop, completely lost its kick. and I'm just using it for a few more training runs. I want to get it over the 200-mile mark, which I'm about 6 miles off now. It's got about 194 miles in it, something like that. We're nearly there, and then I will retire the shoe, sadly. So that's where I definitely think the Rincon 2 can improve by providing a more durable midsole for the future version. And then of course we have these very targeted, what I would say, rubber pads, rubber outsole it is, I call them pads, in high wearing areas, because they are literally pads. There's nothing to it. And again, you can see, I don't know if you can see, I'm very much a midfoot striker. You can see how much that has worn down in the midfoot area there. And that has worn down quite considerably. To be expected without any rubber outsole. That's just the EVA foam just being broken down on the tarmac on the trails. But again, a really great lightweight midsole. The best, I would give it the best midsole, the shoe that I ran in last year, if it hadn't have degraded so badly towards the end, which is a real shame. But that's the Rincon for you. A great lightweight shoe which didn't last long enough. Moving on to the carbonx, we have a very similar pull tab, embroidered heel area, very supportive, and padding around here, but again around the base layer here, about 1 centimetre from the bottom, nice and thin, again to shed weight. You don't need the padding all the way down, you just need the padding around the ankle area. And we have a gusseted tongue this time. I think that means that we have a strap of elastic here and a strap of elastic here, just to keep your foot tied in nicely. And that's going to be due to the fact the material on the top is so light. You're not going to get that lockdown feel that you might get in the Rincon with a more sturdier upper, because it's such a lightweight mesh upper that's being used here. So that gusseted elastic area there is hopefully going to do a good job in keeping your foot and midsole secure, which for me it does, in my opinion. We've got what I would call standard racing laces, a lot lighter, a lot thinner, a lot more of a plasticky feel than the Rincon. Again, I've had no lace slipping issues yet, but I can tell that they are a thinner and lighter weight material, and again that's going to be down to the fact that it is a racing shoe, and we have the one single mesh layer upper on this shoe, which I absolutely love. It's a brilliant mesh upper in my opinion. Again, it looks ruffled here when I'm playing with it, but when your foot's on, it just doesn't crinkle like the Vaporfly. You see pictures of the Vaporfly. It doesn't do any of that. It's perfect, and I can see daylight right the way through from this side out to the other side. Again, a great job in shedding weight on the upper, but that's where they did well on shedding weight. This is where they have managed to put on weight, which I think is unnecessary and can certainly be rectified in future versions. We've got the ProFly midsole here. This is the white section here, ProFly midsole. We've got a carbon plate, we've got a Meta rocker in there, which I forgot to mention. The Rincon also has a Meta rocker. If you like the way your running style feels in the Rincon, you will feel exactly the same in the carbonx. So we've got the ProFly, the carbonx, the ProFly midsole, the carbon plate, the Meta rocker, and then we have this foam outsole. And this foam outsole is dense, it's heavy. If I was to take a guess, I would say the upper on this section, this shoe, is much lighter than the Rincon. The midsole slash outsole is much heavier than this. And I think if I was to hold them side by side, I would safely say that the Rincon is indeed still a lighter shoe than the Carbonx. But the whole idea with the Carbonx is to be a little bit more efficient with the carbon plate. And I certainly feel that. This for me has such a typical feeling of the Nike Zoom Fly, which I absolutely love. It feels exactly the same running in the Zoom Fly as it does this thing. And for me, that's just such a great feeling. So we've got the ProFly midsole, we've got the foam outsole. You can see the carbon plate through these patterns here at the bottom. It's a very solid, very sturdy shoe. With any carbon plate shoe, not a lot of flexibility, because the idea is for you to land on that midfoot area and push off and give you that extra sort of energy return, whatever terminology they like to use. In my opinion, it's a great outsole, fits really well. Not a lot more to say about it really. So that is the similarities and the differences between the Rincon and the Carbonx. So let's move on to the performance, the pros and cons of the shoe, how I feel about them, and of course where I hope that they will make some changes in the future versions coming up. So as you guys know, the Rincon, as I said before a few times, is my favourite shoe. It's just such a brilliant shoe. It did of course have the one drawback. Sadly, I wanted to get this shoe to 300 miles, and you know, I think I could get it to 300 miles. We're on 196 or 94, so we're not far off 200, but sadly from a racing perspective it has completely lost its pop, its kick. It feels really flat. I think the EVA midsole material, a few of you commented actually saying that's what you get with an EVA midsole, and I understand that it's not going to last forever. Obviously, it doesn't have the protection on the outsole of a firm rubber, or foam in this case, base to protect the midsole, but even so, the deterioration on the midsole without it is to be expected. I could get more miles out of that if I wanted to. I could take this thing out on the trails and get 250, 300 miles, but I don't think I want to. I don't want to taint a memory of a shoe that I've set PBs in from 5k all the way up to half marathon. 16:58 for a 5k in this shoe, 36:01 for the 10k, 1:20:31 or something like that for the half marathon. I love it. It's such a great shoe. And I really hope with the version 2, they sort out this midsole. They get a better, but still it's going to be a tough balance. The midsole was super light and that's what made it such a great shoe. But keeping the midsole super light, but just making it more durable somehow. The upper was perfect. Don't change anything with the upper, Hoka. If you're watching, don't change a thing. Just hopefully the midsole will be sorted. And in terms of the carbonx, I've run in it a bit more than I thought I would. I thought I would stash it away until the Gloucester Half Marathon this weekend. I'm actually running it 4 times now, 36 miles in total, 2 easy runs, 1 speed work, 1 long run at 15 miles. I've put everything in it now, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it even on the easy runs, which is a really weird thing to say because it's a racing shoe, but it's super, super comfortable. I think this shoe is going to have big potential for me this year. I love it. I'm getting on with it like a house on fire now. And again, in terms of the Rincon, it's so nice to have a brand that's produced a shoe like this, and then you step up to a racing shoe and you get a shoe like this. It's like the Zoomfly 3 in the next percent. It's kind of like the Zoomfly 3 is the equivalent of the Rincon. It's the baby brother, and the Zoomfly 3 was just trash. I hate it. It's just, I have a love-hate relationship with it. I run really well in it when I run in it, but I just don't like it. Whereas the Rincon is absolutely fantastic, and this thing is equally as good. But for me, there is one big drawback with this shoe. It is, of course, the weight. For me, in a size UK 13.5, it is indeed over 10 ounces. Just over 10 ounces, not a lot, but a bit. And I don't notice the weight, but it could be lighter. This thing's lighter for sure, no doubt. And where it is losing that or gaining that weight is this foam outsole. If I was to take an educated guess, if you could cut this shoe in half around the midsole section, the upper on this shoe is a lot lighter than the upper on this shoe. Not a lot, but a bit lighter due to the single mesh layer that they have going on here. Single layer mesh, sorry, going on up here. And the lighter laces, the lighter tongue, the lighter everything. That's perfect. The midsole, the EVA midsole on here, is way lighter than this. The ProFly feels light. If I take this and I squish it, it feels lovely. It feels great. It feels very much like the EVA foam used here. So I think this ProFly stuff could be really good, but it just feels like they've slapped a block of foam on the bottom, and it's so hard, it's so dense, it's just unnecessary in my opinion. I think they can hopefully find a better foam to use. Here's my opinion, Hoka. Take it or leave it with a pinch of salt, and I know you've probably developed the carbonx 2 by now, but if you're going to do a number 3, maybe try the ProFly X exposed like you have with this EVA foam here, with just a few patches on here for durability. In my opinion, that's worked really well for this shoe. I'm happy to pay the price that's for a shoe that's going to be decent and fit well, and accept the fact that it might not last as long because of the durability, because there's no rubber or foam on the outsole to protect it. I'm happy with that. I was happy with that with this. I'd be even more happy with it than this. £160, a premium price. You get it, you pay for it. It's brilliant. I love it. I'm not begrudging anything with this shoe. I'm just getting on with it like a house on fire. So hopefully lots of great successful races and training runs to come in this shoe. But as always, guys, I'd love to know your thoughts. Have you run in the Rincon? Have you run in the carbonx? What do you think? Can you compare them? What are your differences and what are your preferences? Let me know in the comments below. So that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, smash that like button, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I will see you on the next one. Until then.